In this tutorial, we're gonna take a look how we can make this level load. If I click on the first button, we can see we just loaded the first level. And if I go back to menu, basically the level menu, if I click on the second button, we're gonna load the second level, as you can see. And you can assume this is just pretend that this is level 2. How we can just gonna make this. And if you want to learn about how you can create this UI, I'm gonna have a video in the description. And also I'm not gonna explain how you can unlock the level. I will bring a tutorial on that in another video. So for this, we're gonna talk about how we can make this. And before I jump into the coding part, I want to thanks Riabu's Rivers and Anwar Knight for joining my Patreon membership and unlocking exclusive benefits by supporting me. And if you guys are interested, then you can do too. I have the link in the description. Go and join. First step, we need to check we dragged all of the scenes inside our scene list. To make sure, go to top left file, build profiles, and just select scene list in the left part. And you can see I have dragged all of the scene inside my scene list. You're gonna have it over here. You can see I have the menu level 1, level 2, level 3. If you haven't, then go over to your scenes folder, or basically go over to that folder in which folder you have the scenes, and drag one by one, just like me, as you can see. Now we're gonna create a function in order to load a scene. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a script. So let's go over to script folder, let's right click, go create, then scripting, bono behavior script, and name it to something like level manager. And I already created that script over here. You can see I have it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna attach this script to any game object in my hierarchy, or I can simply create a separate game object. So I'm gonna create that. So I will go to hierarchy, let's right click, let's create an empty game object, and I'm gonna call it something like level manager as the name of the script, or something else you can name it. And I'm gonna reset the transform, and let's select the script, let's drag it over to this add component section in the inspector to attach that, and we're gonna open that up. And I'm gonna remove the start and update function we don't need. And whenever you're working with scene, make sure you go to top of your class and include this namespace called using unity engine.scene management. So make sure you just include that. And now we're gonna make a function to load a scene, and we're gonna make this function public because we're gonna call this button through this we're gonna call that function through this button. If I go over to my canvas, then level menu, level UI, you can see I have first button, second button, and the third button. If I click on the first button, then I just want to load the first level. If I click on the second button, then I'm gonna load the second level, and the list just goes on. So that's why we're gonna make that function public, because we're gonna call it through a button. So we're gonna make a public void for function, and we're gonna call it something like load level. Let's call it load level. And this function, it's gonna take an argument, basically the level that we want to load, and it's gonna take in just gonna in type. So we're gonna pass in, and we can call it something like level index. So let's call it level index, and then we're gonna make some curly brackets. And to load a scene, we're gonna use a function called scene manager dot load scene. So we're gonna use this, and I'm gonna explain why we pass this parameter right over here. So to load a scene, we have to use this scene manager dot load scene function. And this function, basically it's gonna load the scene, and it's gonna take the build index of that scene, which scene basically we want to load, or basically the level. And to see the level name of the scene, or basically the build index of it, go over to Unity editor. In the top left, go to top left file, build profiles, to scene list. You can see the name of the scene in the left side. I have the menu, and we can see the build index of it to the right section, which is 0. So we can simply pass the index. So that's why as an argument, I just pass it this level index, or we can pass a string variable type as well. So I'm gonna pass right over here level index, which can be 0, 1 or 2. Let's assume as a level index we pass 1, so this will be 1. So if we low so what it's basically means, we're gonna load the first level. So if I go to top left file, build profiles, we can see the first level build index is 1, we can see in the right section. But it can be anything, basically it's up to you which scene you basically want to load. And now we're gonna save our script. Let's get back to Unity editor. Now we're gonna hook that function with all of these buttons. So I'm gonna select all of the buttons by holding down shift, and let's go over to inspector button component, and we're gonna click on this plus icon on click, because we can call the function here, and we need to drag the game object in which game object the script is sitting on. So in our case that is level manager. We can see the script is attached on, so we're gonna drag it. Once again I'm gonna select all of this button, so let's drag it our level manager there, and we're gonna click on no function. Let's go to level manager, and inside there we can see we created a function called call load level. So we're gonna choose that. So basically what we're doing, we're simply going over to this level manager script, and we're calling this function. And now if I choose the first button, basically it's first button or this one, and we can see the level index. Basically we calling that function which is load level. And now as a level index, basically this argument that we pass right over here, by default it's becoming 0. So I'm gonna put 1 because this is the first button, and for the second button I'm gonna pass my 2, so I'm gonna choose 2, and do the same thing for all of this button. So if I click on this first button, we should load up the level 1. Now if I go ahead, click on this 1 button, and you can see we just loaded the first level. So if I click on the second button or the level 2, we can see level 2. Just pretend this is our level, and you can see in the hierarchy the name of the scene or basically the level is level 2.